and we are here with another episode of the Daily Deuce. I am joined today by John Webster. It is me, Dante Webster. I am a guest today, but they decided to let me take the reins as we get things kicked off here. So thank you for having me here today.
Hey man, it's a pleasure to have you on the show today. Greatly appreciate you coming by. It's always great to have you come in the studio and pretty much tell your old man how he's screwing up and try to set him straight. So I greatly appreciate
I didn't say you screwed up, man. You don't have to make it sound so harsh. I never said you did anything wrong. I've never given you a negative comment when it comes to this. I'm always nice. We don't always agree on our opinions, but I mean, generally speaking, I never said anything negative.
you. That's cool, man. You got any updates you want to share with everybody? You got anything?
No, I'm just ready to get into these. We can get into these sports. No, too many
Let's
no
go.
updates. We can get into these sports. I see. We have the playoffs going on right now. We are in the second round. We're getting closer to the finals, closer and closer. Eastern Conference. I mean, not Eastern Conference, but the conference finals are going to be starting probably within the next week. We know at least one team that's going to be there, and that is going to be the Boston Celtics. Boston Celtics making the finals for the sixth time in 8 years and for the third consecutive year. That is the big headline that everybody keeps seeing. The real thing is nobody cares. Everybody sees they're making another conference finals. It is great. It is. It's. I'm not even gonna say it's an impressive. I mean, kind of. It's an impressive feat to be able to get to that level six times in 8 years. Yes, that is impressive. I can admit that. The biggest thing is everybody kind of at this point is like, okay, you get there. Will you A, win the conference finals, and B, can you win an NBA championship? That is all anybody cares about at this point. They have had probably what amounts to the easiest cakewalk to the conference finals just because the teams they play, everybody's just dropping like flies. But it's all for naught if A, they don't win the conference finals, or B, they just don't win an NBA title. Because at this point, we've even seen them win two games in the finals against the Warriors. And they probably overall, top to bottom, probably had the better roster. Didn't win. So the question is, can they win this year? You tell me. I'll let you get us kicked off here. What are you thinking?
Well, you know the Celtics are my favorite team. Um, I agree. It was a good win. They wrapped up the series against Cleveland. That's excellent. They took care of the series against Miami. That's excellent. My concern comes with the next round. They'll either get the Knicks or they'll get the Pacers. My thought pattern on that, the Knicks can really be a problem. The physicality, I think, is going to be a problem. I think the better matchup for them would be Indiana. I'm not sure that's going to happen. I think the Knicks will probably play them. I think Knicks and Indiana go 7 games. I think the Knicks will win in 7. Even though the Knicks roster is depleted, that Villanova trio they have with DiVincenzo, I think it is,
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Brunson, and Hart,
Mm-hmm.
they're tough. I mean, and Hartenstein's doing a great job cleaning the boards. One of the things that Boston really needs, Dante, going into this next round, whether they play Indiana or whether they play the Knicks, they need Porzingis back. I don't know if Porzingis is going to be able to come back. I've been reading about this calf injury and other players in the NBA who get this calf injury now. They're concerned about treating it and being very cautious and making sure it doesn't lead to a torn Achilles.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure how long Porzingis is going to be out, but he is a key component. Horford was great in closing out the series against Cleveland, but come on, that's a 36, 37-year-old man. Uh, I mean, no disrespect to him, he plays well, but can he do that every night starting as opposed to coming off the bench? So we'll see, man. I hope they are able to move into the finals. I don't even want to talk about the finals, but I'll just say the Knicks give me real concern. I also have a lot of concern for Indiana, but I have real concern about them playing the New York Knicks.
I mean, I think the concern is valid, but I just with what New York has left, they don't have enough to beat Boston flat out in a series. My opinion, don't have enough to beat them. They have enough to take Boston probably to 6 games. You get lucky if you get lucky, seven. They have enough to take Boston to at least 6 games. I think they have enough in the tank for that. They'll get physical enough. I think they'll get hot shooting, and you'll have some problems with Jalen Brunson. I mean, not have, and Jalen Brunson will give you problems. Excuse me. So I think they have enough in the tank to get them to 6. I don't think the Knicks have enough to win that series. They're just like everybody is playing up and they're playing out of their minds right now, but it's literally eventually you're going to come up against something bigger than you. You're going to come to that wall. And I think for the Knicks, that wall would literally be the Celtics just because the Celtics have enough guys to give them fits and give them problems. Every other team that they faced, who they have in the first round? Sixers? Sixers never had enough. Joel Embiid looked fine, but he was gutting it out and he was struggling a lot in terms of pain threshold and that type of stuff. He was a warrior and he kept playing through it, but just didn't look like they had enough. And then when you had what they have right now, Pacers have lost guys. Pacers third best player probably Matherin. He's gone. He's not playing in this series. And Halliburton hasn't been the same since he injured I think it was his knee or something earlier in the year. He's been a little off. Knicks have been tested, but they haven't had a team that's just flat out better than them yet. I think every other team has thought, oh, okay, the Knicks are depleted, but Tibbs is making those guys play hard defense, and those guys are playing some serious minutes, so they're able to get past them. I think Boston will be the first time where they finally hit a wall and it's like, okay, we can't just out muscle it, out physical it. It's going to be something when they get physical with Boston. They will deter them a little bit, but I think Boston will respond, and I think the Knicks just won't be able. They won't have enough. I just don't think the Knicks have enough to win another series. I think what they've done this year, they've already overachieved. Everything is. I think everything is icing on the cake for them. Honestly, people will say they should get to the conference finals. We don't know. I just don't think that either of those teams have enough left. I think Boston probably will. If Boston loses before the finals, I would be completely shocked because it would just be a massive, massive upset. Boston literally should go to the finals. I think whoever they play in the finals should thrash them because I just don't think that they've been tested enough and they're going to be. I think any of the teams on the West should be able to beat them. I'm not going to say easily. I'll take out the word thrash. I'll take that out. That was a bit harsh. But I don't see a world in which they win the finals. I feel like the teams in the West that are left have all competed against each other at such a high level that if you put any of them against Boston, just future casting, if the Thunder are able to figure it out against the Mavericks, all right, that's going to be a pretty hard matchup for you. If the Mavericks were to get there, another tough matchup for you. If you had the Nuggets, hardest matchup that you got because that's a repeat champion, and Minnesota plays good defense and can neutralize the big 7 foot, 7'2", 7'3" guy that you hope plays. And like you said, the biggest thing is they need Porzingis back right now. This is a position you never wanted to be in. You never wanted to be depending on Kristaps Porzingis' health, and you knew that when they traded for him. It's like, oh, not traded, when they signed him in the offseason. Good piece. Does a lot of things well. He played really well for the Wizards. I think he played like 70 games for the Wizards last year, I think. That might have been. If not 70, then upper 60s. He played a lot of games last year. It's good. He played a lot of games this year. You cannot depend. His health is it's hard when you're that tall. And that calf injury, like you said, it's bothering a lot of players because now they're all skeptical and they all think they could end up with a torn Achilles. That's what happened with Kevin Durant. You have your calf injury, and then the next thing you know, you end up tearing your Achilles. So it's a difficult one. I wouldn't want to be depending on him right now. I think they have enough even without him to get to the finals, though. I think they'll win the next series, even if he were to just sit out. If he were to just, hypothetically speaking, again, if they were to get to the finals and he didn't come back till then, I think they'd be fine. I like what the Knicks are doing. Honestly, I would love it if the Knicks beat the Celtics. I just don't see a world in which it happens because basketball is one of the few sports where the better team does win most of the time, like 99% of the time, just because it's different than hockey, kind of a crapshoot. Football, it's one game and anything can happen in one game. Baseball, everything changes when you get to the postseason. Again, it could be a bit of a crapshoot. You never know. Basketball, best team is always going to win. That's how it usually goes. And I just think the Celtics are so top heavy. They will be the best team in the East regardless. Now, if you tell me that Tatum or Brown goes down, all right, we can have a conversation then about somebody beating them. But as long as in most series they're in all the series in the East, outside of playing the Knicks, they'll have two of the best players on the court, or they'll have the two best players on the court, in my opinion.
Well, I would say this. Not all the time does the best team win. Last year, Miami took out the Celtics. The Celtics were the better team.
Miami was a better team than the Celtics last year. Then that's how this goes. Miami doesn't play for real until the postseason. That's just the.
So you cannot sit here they're not the best. They let me say this: the better team won. On paper, the Boston Celtics were the better team, and they could not take care of it. So I don't think it's every time. It's not where the best team on paper wins. Even this year, you sit down and you look at some of the things that have happened with some of the playoffs teams that have won or lost in the past, and even this year as well. Better team on paper doesn't always win. So we'll see what happens with the Celtics. Jalen Brunson is a load to deal with. That's going to be Holiday's responsibility and Derek White's responsibility. You know, I've said this to you since the playoffs started. I'm one who I would let Brunson get his 40.
Yeah.
I'm just going to make sure nobody else goes crazy. That's what I would do. Brunson is just in a whole nother world in this playoffs, and he's playing very, very well. And you can't let Hartenstein kill you. The one thing that Boston will have to do, I'm talking about the physicality, you got to box out and you got to stop the Knicks from getting offensive rebounds. The Knicks in their last win over Indiana were dominant on the offensive boards. They were dominant against Philadelphia as well. You cannot let them just continually get second, third, and sometimes fourth and fifth shots. You got to box out, you got to grab the ball, and you got to lock it up and get it to your end of the court. New York is a Tom Thibodeau team. They don't get tired, they don't stop playing defense, and they don't stop coming after you. And the kind of team that I like whenever I've had kids play for me. And there's a young man now that I'm talking to who played like that when he was a kid. So this person should be able to understand the Knicks very well.
I do. I get the Knicks. I absolutely do. Last thing that I will the last thing that I will say before we go to a different series, the Knicks are dependent on four guys under 6'4". I mean, not four. Excuse me, three guys under 6'4". You can do some things with that, but you ain't. There's a ceiling on that. At a certain point, you need height.
Hey, Dante, you may need to tell Hart he's under 6'4". He doesn't know that.
Yeah, you see, here's the thing about it. Hart being 6'4" hasn't been his issue. At a certain point, Hart gonna stop hitting them threes because I mean it was like he's like what 30% in the regular season. He was shooting at one point like 41% in the playoffs. At a certain point, the shot is gonna stop falling, and that'll be his issue. He's always been a great rebounder. I loved him when he played for the Lakers. I always thought he is a tremendous rebounder for a guard. He always gets his nose in there, cleans up very well.
He doesn't know that he's a guard. He thinks he's a center.
He thinks he's a power forward. I don't get it. You know what? In all honesty, if Julius Randle was playing, you probably wouldn't even be getting this type of performance from him. Just wouldn't be the same. Honestly, I love the Villanova trio. I love it. It's just literally, like I keep saying, there is a ceiling on what you can get with this, in my opinion. It's great to watch. It's a really good story. It's just literally, again, like I keep saying, they're gonna hit the wall they can't climb over. And
but here's the question: when? People have been saying this the whole playoffs. When are they going to hit the wall?
Okay, here's the difference between me and you. In round one, I kept telling you I think they'll beat the Sixers. I don't really think they'll struggle with them. I actually had faith in them doing that against the Pacers. I think they'll beat the Pacers. I think the Pacers are kind of depleted. I don't have a problem with it. Boston has what? Jalen. I mean, look, Jason Tatum is like a 6'8" shooting guard, and then Jaylen Brown is Still only has one hand, but I mean that's 6'6", plays good defense, 6'6" or 6'7", plays good defense, can slash, get to the basket, does his job. Drew Holiday is gonna lock down whichever one of them he's guarding. Derek White plays phenomenal defense and got better on offense this year. He's been a really good player. Kristaps Porzingis, not even if Porzingis doesn't play. Al Horford is a dependable, solid playoff veteran. I imagine he would actually give Hardenstein fits because he just has savvy. He will literally probably just give that man problems because he has know-how. I just think they're finally going to come up against a team that's just gonna look, they're gonna outwork everybody, but at a certain point, I just feel like talent and height, unfortunately, do come into play a little bit, and so that's gonna be the thing that may end up getting him. It's just Jalen Brunson's been phenomenal. You know how hard it is to depend on someone 6'1" for like all of this. Like it's hard, and 6'1" in the NBA is generous because that means he's probably 5'11". So he's done a phenomenal job. I'm not taking anything away from him. I love his game. It's just hard to depend on him to do all of this at this point when you just think of everything that they've lost. It's a luxury if you have a Julius Randle around right now. It would be a luxury if you had like who else they traded for? They traded for Bogdanovich. If you have those type of Mitchell Robinson, they just literally like good rotation players that they have are just gone. Yes, a lot of guys have stepped up, but at a certain point, yes, it is going to matter. And I just think next round is when it will matter. Like it's going to be harder then. And I mean, this is a good sign. We see what happens for them in the future. I just think next round it's finally going to matter. And that's even if they get to the next round. The Pacers could figure something out and just stop them. But enough about, Boston, and I've talked about them ad nauseum. I'm good now. I've gotten out my Boston diatribe, and I didn't even insult them. I've actually been very kind. I don't like their chances if they get to the finals, but I've been very kind. But, we have a couple other series that are going on right now. I think one of the more intriguing ones on the other side of the bracket. I mean, if we got to give our customary 2 minutes to anybody, what's the last series? Well, we touched on everything in the East. But on the other side of the bracket, we have Denver and we have Minnesota. That one started off as, everybody thinking, oh, okay, Minnesota's got them. Minnesota goes up 2-0. Okay, got them on the ropes. Beat the champs at home twice. And beat them pretty handily, too. Well, in game two. Beat them pretty handily in game two. Game one was a very close one. Everything changes when they go back to Minnesota. Minnesota has not been the same since they went home. It's been a struggle for them. The champs are playing like the champs. Champs also got lucky that they got the most random 3-day break in between games ever, and that Jamal Murray wasn't suspended for literally interfering with a game and trying to injure people, because that's what it is when you're throwing things onto the court. Just saying, it's very lucky he didn't get suspended, but fine, you let it go. Fine, you have that. So we have these two. You have them sitting there. The Nuggets are now up 3-2, looking like champs. Minnesota is down 2-3. The question is, do you think Minnesota has any fight left in them, or do you think that this is just the Nuggets? This is just what the Nuggets are going to do, and they're going to beat them. And then the real question becomes, do you think that either of the teams on the other side can give the Nuggets any go? Not give them go, but actually beat them. Put it like that.
First, you asked quite a few questions there. But the first thing I'll say, I think the Nuggets beat Minnesota in 6 games. Mm-hmm. I think Minnesota has lost their momentum, lost their way. I just don't know if Minnesota can switch that around and turn it to what it was the first 2 games. I would hope they can. I just don't know. Jokic is he's a very good player. He's the MVP, and he did a number on Gobert in the last game. 8 of 9 against Gobert. I don't think Minnesota can do it. I think this series ends in 6 games. I wouldn't be so quick to say Denver next series. I will withhold my comments until we talk about the rest of the West. But Boston matching up in the West, I'll just say this: whoever it is, they can match up in the West, and then I'll come back to my thoughts on the rest of the West. But I think Denver. 2 things you also said I really agree with. 3 days rest really helped him. And Jamal Murray not getting suspended really helped him. I thought for sure he was going to get a 1 game suspension. Um, he didn't. They moved on. Murray has played much better since that situation. They all have. They've turned it around. And Minnesota missed a golden opportunity to lock this series down, not when they lost game 4, but when they lost game 3. That was a golden opportunity right there to lock this series down. And, if they had won game 3 and lost game 4, you're still up 3-1 and they're going to wrap it up in 5 or 6. But by losing game 3, it turned everything around.
Yeah. No, I hear you on that one. I definitely hear you. It's been a tough one for them. It's one of those things where you have this team that exceeded expectations. Minnesota, as far as a lot of people were concerned, weren't even supposed to be in this round. They weren't supposed to beat the Suns. So you go out there, you sweep the Suns. You beat them in 4. You show that, oh, okay, we are here relative to expectations. And you go out there and you get the first 2 on the Nuggets. But now you're going to start having some of these issues that we all kind of thought would be the case and that a player like Jokic could exploit. Gobert. Gobert is a really good defender. Gobert is going to be one of those people where you have to sit around and really explain to a young person one day how he ended up in the Hall of Fame, which is where he's going. And it's going to be one of those odd conversations, but when you get to the playoffs, Gobert struggles sometimes. And you know what? The sad part is, really ain't much you could do against Jokic because Anthony Davis just about did the best he could do against Jokic, had some great numbers, and Jokic just, it doesn't matter. You can't, it's just hard to stop a player like Jokic. It's literally just about impossible because he can also shoot. And it doesn't matter how long and you can hold him down for the first 23 seconds of the shot clock. If he has that 1 second left with that jump shot release, he just flick up there, he's going to just go ahead and knock it down. Wouldn't matter. It's been really hard. And then the other thing that Minnesota does have to contend with, the guy who's probably their second best player is always quick to foul, and when he looks good, he looks good. But when Cat struggles, it is hard. At this point, you're running into some issues here. Nas Reed's a good player. Nas Reed also can't do but so much against them. You have a I was going to use that big word, triumvirate. I think I could have used it. Oh well. You have 3 really good big men, but it just seems like they just aren't. You just don't have enough to stop Jokic, and they just keep running into that wall. And I don't know if they'll be able. I don't think they'll be able to get past it. I think they'll maybe lose 6, maybe lose 7. I don't think they win the series. I didn't think they won the series coming in. They've already exceeded my expectations. I
Yeah,
don't.
I mean, I think it's 6. The triumvirate that you're referring to with Reed and Towns and Gobert, I think they have hit a roadblock. I
Mhm.
think they're shell shocked. I just Anthony Edwards said something really strange. He said he loves the trash talk, and he said we love it,
Then he corrected himself.
and said, "Well, at least I love it."
Hmm.
And if you're listening, what he's saying, he's indirectly, what's the term you kids use now? Passive aggressive. He's
Yes,
making he's making a passive aggressive statement that the rest of his teammates are not locked in like he is. That's what I took from that.
I thought the same thing. That's why he corrected himself real fast. He knew that he is up for it. He's down for the challenge. He gets it. Everybody else ain't on his level. He got a lot of dudes, not a lot, but he got 2 dudes on his team that he has to depend on a lot whose mental and physical toughness have been questioned at various times. So it's not really surprising that he feels that way. I get that. So I wasn't surprised when he had to go ahead and fix that. Yeah, the rest of them dudes on that team. Well, what's his name? Probably what's his name? I think Jaden McDaniels is all right too. But the rest of them guys on that team, it's difficult. It's not they don't have that same they don't have that same mindset that he has. He has a real old school mindset, old school mentality, and he's ready for that type of thing, in my opinion. But it's just it ain't gonna work this year. And then if they get knocked out, the question is they were really good. They were a really good regular season team. They had the best defense, and you took out the Phoenix Suns, who had chemistry issues, but they put together a really solid offensive core that should be able to do some things. And you took them out quite handily. Question then becomes: do you run it back? or what do you look to do? What do you
I
see?
think both them, and we're getting ready to talk about OKC, both them and OKC are a year away. I personally, as a GM, would not break them up. I look at Gobert, and Gobert in the last game literally was talking to himself and hitting himself in the head after Jokic was doing things to him. So I think that another year, another year, I wouldn't break them up.
Now
I
the other
mean,
team you just mentioned, the other team you just mentioned, OKC. I would break them up so fast because they are one more player away, and I know they're one more player away because they already have to hide the fact Josh Giddey can't even play in the playoffs. You got to bench him. Their lineup is really good, and they have some great players.
so
I,
what do you go and get?
I honestly, that's where we've always. That's where I get confused. I don't really know exactly what I'd get yet. I got to see what's available. But I think they need one more guy who can just go out there and get a bucket. I feel like Shea is
I
fine.
gotta move. I gotta move for you.
What you got?
But I would not give a lot up to get him, even though he's one of the best scorers in the league.
AD.
Yep.
I agree with that one. I think that's
But
the high.
I'm not giving you the kitchen and the sink for him, not at 36. But
Well,
I think Durant's personality and his style would fit perfectly in there to move Giddy out. I agree.
yeah, but
But
you have to give more.
I'm not giving that core up what they have put together. What you say?
You have to give up more than Giddy. Now they have a treasure trove of picks. They got a bunch of picks because
I'll
they.
give you some picks. I'll give you Giddy. I'm not giving you any more players.
Oh, okay, so you ain't getting them. Okay, cool. You're not serious about the trade then because
Yes, I am serious. If
Giddy.
I give if I give you some of my picks, as bad as shape as Phoenix is in, they need picks.
They do.
They
Absolutely.
need picks. They need the future. They got Durant, Booker, and Beal, and they're going nowhere fast.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I give you Giddy,
Yeah,
maybe another expiring contract, and two picks for Durant.
that's not enough. You got to give me something more than Giddy just because I know Giddy's.
All right,
I
what else do you want on OKC? What else?
Well, that becomes the hardest issue with trying to fix OKC to a certain extent because the only other player that can get you some serious value outside of because Giddy's got a hard ceiling because you can't play him in the playoffs, can't shoot, so he doesn't do well for spacing. For a team that may need a point guard, maybe, but if you're OKC, the hard part is in my opinion, the other guy that you could probably get a real good return on value if you package up picks, if you wanted to just max it out and go superstar, Jalen Williams, but you don't want to give him up. I understand that. That's fine because Jalen Williams will grow into a really solid, dependable wing player, and he's already really good.
Okay, I give you Giddy, Dork, Dorf, Dorted,
Dort. It's just
Dort. I'll give you Giddy, Dort, and two picks.
Kevin Durant. Still not enough, probably. You got to make one of them players.
He's 36 years old, Dante.
I'd have to go look it up. If you look at what he averaged this past year, I mean, it's one of those hard things where I just don't think it just won't be enough. People, they probably Phoenix's owner seems like one of those guys who just really wants to prove I did it and I came in here won a championship. To get him to move off of the pieces he has, at least that piece in particular, you're gonna have to bowl him over because he's just been making decisions, and I don't know if he's thinking them all out. You're gonna have to bowl him over with an offer if you wanted that. Now, if you offered him that and said, "We'll take one lightly used Brad Beal," I imagine he'd jump on that in a heartbeat at this point.
No. Durant. And let me say this before we go too far on OKC. We're
Yeah,
gonna have a lot of time to talk about them
yeah,
because the Mavericks will take out OKC in 7.
I agree with that one. I don't think they have enough to beat. I don't think they have enough. And we talk about Durant. The other thing that they actually do need in OKC, they need a little bit of heft. Chet is going to be a really good player. Chet's too light. They can't handle anything that the Mavericks are doing right now with like Gafford, Lively. Uh, they're struggling with PJ Washington, which you never would have thought at the beginning of the year. So
I agree with that.
a
What
little
I
bit.
would do, I would get Gafford or somebody in the offseason. I wouldn't let Holmgren go.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
I'm not saying you let Hogan go. It's just one of the things where it's like how AD prefers to play with fives, even though he technically speaking could be the five. Similar thing there. Chet's a little skinnier, and he's gained some weight since he's gained in the NBA, but it's a little bit more difficult for him. So if you can go out there, if you're OKC and get a guy like Jonas Valanciunas that played for the Pelicans last year, a guy like that, that's a bigger guy, can get you some boards, and can step out and space the floor some so that you don't have to throw off your spacing too much, by incorporating him into the offense. Those are the type of guys you need, but you end up having to spend a pretty penny because how many of those guys really exist?
Like the guy with the Clippers. What's his name? Joe Kier or No Kier?
Wait, which one for the Clipper? Oh no, Zubac. No, not Zubac. Which one are you talking about for the Clippers?
Maybe Zubas. I don't. But it's another space eater. That's what I like space eaters. Honestly, and it's not going to happen. A
Mm-hmm.
Rudy Gobert would fit well in OKC. He
Yeah,
would fit
I thought about
extremely
that. I
well.
thought about that too. Yeah, somebody like that. You
Yeah.
need size, and you just need another big who can actually just be out there and, like I said, eat up some space and just honestly take a little bit of that beat.
Also, they got to fit into the OKC way. And the team that they have right now are OKC way. There's some players that are very good that just wouldn't fit into the OKC way. And I, Durant has been there
Hmm.
and done well, and I think it would be great to end his career there.
Yeah,
I'm just not giving a bunch of stuff. I'm not giving. I'll give you two players, and I'll give you two picks.
and therein lies the difficulty. But OKC will reach the same point that they reached previously, which is we have a bunch of young, good players. You can't pay them all, so that means that you will have to at some point make a trade, and it will have
Well,
to. Yeah, well, you
I
have
would
to.
wait. Go ahead. I'll catch y'all. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'll say, no, you have some time. That's what I was saying. You have time, but you're gonna have to make a trade.
Yeah. And like I said, this year, I think they're a year away, just like Minnesota. I think Dallas beats them in seven. And honestly, I think Dallas is going to give Denver a hard way to go. Kyrie Irving against Jamal Murray, I think is going to be an even matchup
Hmm.
because both of them can do each other in, and I think that's going to help. The thing that this is just like the Knicks though. They don't have anybody to stop Joker. You just got to let him get his 40 and you got to stop everybody else. You can't let Michael Porter get going on jumpers. You can't let Aaron Gordon be a great point forward. You got to shut everything else down. What's his name? Contavious Pope or Octavius Pope, whatever it is. You can't let him all of a sudden get on a roll either. But honestly, I think Dallas, for me,
Hmm.
I think they beat OKC. And Dante, I'll go out on a limb. I can see them beating the Nuggets.
All right, before we get out of here, based on teams you see left, what's your finals prediction? Who you got going? Give them to me right now. Based on who you got right now, you can always fix it later. But based on who we got right now, I give you mine. I say it's Denver and Boston. What it probably should have been last year if the better team had won, as you told me. But I got Denver and Boston. That's what I say. I ain't gonna say who will win, but I got Denver and Boston right now.
Uh, I say Dallas and Boston,
Oh, wow.
and
Okay.
but I would not be surprised if it was Dallas and the Knicks. But I'm a Boston guy through
Mm.
and through. I say it's going to be Dallas and Boston for everything.
I will bet you 5 lunches that the Knicks will not get to the finals. I will literally say it right here, 5 lunches. I'll pay for 5 lunches that we go on. Next 5 lunches we do, I will pay for them all if the Knicks get to the finals.
5 of my kind of lunches.
Sure, why not? Yeah. 5 of your kind of lunches. Yeah.
Okay, so that means you ain't gonna tell your mama then, right?
I still not gonna. I'm still monitored to an extent, but I will pay for 5 of your lunches. I can watch myself. I don't need her to do it. Yeah, I got you though. Yeah, I'll pay for 5 of your lunches. If the Knicks get to the finals. They don't even have to win a game. If the Knicks get to the finals, I'll pay for 5 of your lunches. That is how surprised I would be if they could do that. I don't see it. I'm not knocking. I actually like the story. Trust me, I would love for them to beat Boston because it would be chaos. Because Boston literally would be losing to a team of, for lack of a better word, little runts. And it'd just be like, oh, so they're just getting run off the court by these little guys, a bunch of 6'4". Again, I'm being generous by saying 6'4" because I don't even think Josh Hart is really 6'4". DiVincenzo's probably the tallest one, and he maybe is legit 6'4", probably 6'3". None of them are 6'4". None of them are really 6'4". But anyway, I digress. I'll let you go with that one. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Daily Deuce. You know, had a good time catching up here and doing this basketball discussion. Always love to talk hoops with you.
Hey, you all. Thanks for joining us. Dante, appreciate you for coming in today. It was a great show because of you, man. Y'all come back and see us again real soon. And above all else, watch some sports. Take care.
See ya.